Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. He's Juice, I'm Luce. It's a Sunday Funday episode here, ladies and gentlemen. The Cubs take 2 of 3 from the Atlanta Braves, and Juice, tonight I'm wearing sunglasses because I got robbed of wearing them this weekend because Mother Nature decided to feel like October instead of August, and it was like pissing mist all day and like 75 degrees. So I am making up for lost time. I was out in the bleachers today, in case anybody didn't know. Juice, before we get into all things baseball, all things Sunday Fun Day, the Cubs braved the elements for a series win, but how are you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Had a lake day today, actually. I know it wasn't the perfect day for it, but we went down and just kind of hung by the lake. Not Chicago Lake, I wish it was that, but in Rochester, Indiana. So nice. Went down there and got some nice peaceful time and watched the baseball game down there, and then just drove back. And yeah, man, things are nice, and they may be gloomy outside, but it's bright and sunny inside of that Cub locker room, baby. They're rolling, man. I tweeted out, I was like, Cubs, baby, Cubs. It's Cubs, baby. It's Cubs. It's the talk of the town. I feel like it's taken over all of the coverage for football. Like, I mean, both of us were excited to talk about like Bears football coming up about a month ago. Like, just get us to the Bears season, Cubs. And now it's like, Bears, I ain't got time for you, man.
We were just whining about the schedule, about the fact the Bears preseason games are all on Saturdays because it interferes with Cubs baseball.
Yeah, and that's a problem now. But that's a good problem to have, right? It's like if you're a millionaire and you're like, oh, I got to pay all these taxes. It's like, well, yeah, but you also, after you pay the taxes, you also got millions. So sometimes you still got that going for you. Or like, I don't know. Crack them, lock them, stack them, bag them. It's not enough, Scott. It's not enough.
So for those not watching with us live really quick, Scott Crawford here in the comments with a quick crack them, lock them, stack them, bag them. Says the Cubs are tied for the 3rd wild card spot and raising. They are, and they're also tied for the 2nd NL Central spot now with the Cincinnati Reds. Juice, before we talk about the impact of what this series weekend was, let's talk about the division and the standings a little bit here. First off, we are huge Washington Nationals fans.
Man.
This team has just continually defeated NL Central opponents in pure style. They're walking off the Brewers on like an errant pitch and play at the plate. You know, you got them beating up on the Cincinnati Reds. I was watching the scoreboard today at Wrigley. Nats put up a 4 spot in the first inning. I was like, let's go Nationals. I love them. They not only did they give us Candelario, but they're beating all of our division opponents. They want us to win. They want to do it for Heimer. That's what's happening here. The Nats are doing it for Heimer. And that's why, as Mr. Russell Luce says here in the comments, we are going to win the division. Thoughts, Juice, about where the Cubs sit in the standings? Because you and I talked a little pregame show. They have significantly rose from where they were 50 games ago to where they are now.
It's not enough. I tweeted earlier today that I was going to be on this show, and it's just nice to have baseball that means something again. Like, I remember last year and the year before with our Sox fan friends, and they fell in it for sure, right? But them complaining about this guy and that guy. And I stopped many of them, buzz of them, one included, and Tony, Mr. Marchese, our leader, fearless leader over here at On Tap. And I said, enjoy it, because baseball with something on the line, there's nothing like it. And I said, I remember 18, 19, 20, like in the 16 and 15, like it was yesterday, obviously, because it was. But also, there was a good spur of time here, as Cubs fans we are, where we were getting at bats from guys that would never be here ever again, you know, and watching debuts of, you know, guys that were going to be traded at the deadline for a name or two to come back. We were. And that's fun because optimism is fun. But competitive baseball is funner. I know it's not a word, but it's funner. And today, I think it just like all hit me all at once. Like, how great it is to watch appointment television baseball in this town. It is the Cubs right now, and this whole series, I blocked off parts of my day to make sure I didn't miss, Friday or Saturday or Sunday's game, because it was a measuring stick in a lot of ways to where they are. There's the naysayers that said, they beat a lot of bad teams, and yeah, they have. They've had some teams on the record and in the schedule that they've had to beat that are not trying to win, in a position where the Cubs were a couple of years ago. But now it's like, man, like they played this Atlanta series, and every pitch, I started to get in that old playoff mode that I remember from like 16 and 17. Like, man, Steele can't make it through. He was at like 100 and something pitches, and they're just trying to buy 2 outs to get him to here, because it's like, well, this guy worked and he's unavailable, and your mind starts to turn in that chess game, right? That baseball is just this giant chess game. You're like, man, like, because this move happens, this move has to happen. And how is he going to get to the end? And luckily the Cubs bullpen found a way to piece it to the end with the availability that they had. But to think that way again is refreshing, because how many games, Ron, did me and you sit on these shows when they lost and we were talking more about what happened at South Bend or, the draft pick that they got, or what the potential is for trades to trade the core? Yeah, the league's on notice, but man, like, if you're a Cub fan right now, I urge everybody to do this when you're in the middle of a window that I think is slowly opening here, and the Cubs are doing their best to walk through it. Take a step back and just take it all in, because there's just something about a Cubs playoff team in a run like this that is magical. It changes your mood. It's the first thing that you think about on certain days when you're like, all right, man, I got to get this done and this done and this done, because I want to be sitting on my couch and watching the Cubs, or I want to make sure that if I'm at the barbecue, I'm dragging out my television for all my friends to watch around it while we have a couple beers. It's this kind of moment where it's just like, step back and take it in. Like, as much as you want them to win and your heart's all in it, take it back and enjoy it, because baseball is just it's that romantic, like, intimate, like, game that is just can be viewed on so many different viewpoints, and like one thing that you believe in is different from what I think is right for, and two, like, it's just so damn wild, right? Like, the baseball's just different. You could see the best team in the league run the table and win it, like the Cubs did in 16.
Right.
Or there's the 80-some win Cardinals. Like, it's crazy. But I just urge everybody, take a step back, enjoy it, take it in. Like, and if there's people who don't enjoy baseball, introduce them to the game, because these are the times that baseball's at its best. And truly, like, when the Cubs are good, there's just something about this city, man, that, like, it just buzzes and you can feel it. And that's what I felt over the course of these, like, the run up to the trade deadline and then the post trade deadline. And, the moves that Jed has made has already impacted the team with Quas, with Candelario. These guys coming in already have made significant impact. And it's just fun. And then you look to the future and you're like, what can it be? And that's kind of like where we're at right now.
Yeah. And Juice, so as I mentioned, I was in the Wrigley Field bleachers. You may have seen my thickness on the during Go Cubs Go. And if you haven't seen it, on Tap Sportsnet on X has the photo. But as I was leaving the ballpark, I heard this guy behind me talking to his buddy, and he said, This feels like 2015, like next year's our year." And I'm like, no, maybe it is, But why are you thinking that way? This team is not at all like 2015. 2015 was a team that overachieved at an earlier time than expected, right? They went on that magical run and they were tied for the best record in baseball. And everybody's like, whoa, this team got really good really fast. Because they did. Everybody took a step forward that wasn't expected initially. This team was more built ready to compete.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there were still those storylines of development, right? From some of the younger guys taking a big step forward, or even just unexpected people becoming heroes, like Mike Talkman has been at times this season. It's still the same little tiny narratives and storylines throughout, but this team is not like, oh, we're building for something. Like they were coming into the season saying, if shit goes right, this could go really well. And we all said the same thing. And we knew if this team played the way that they were built and the way that they were able to play, and sure, you need a little bit of overachieving from some guys. Outside of the world of Cubs fandom, and especially here at Cubs on Tap, sure, Steele probably wasn't picked as a Cy Young favorite at this late in the season. Stroh was at 1.2 before he got hurt, but he's been lights out, in comparison to what he's been over the course of his career, just in terms of averages. You get some of those overachievings. But this team is so different. As Filmmaker 12 says here in the comments, he says, loves what Swanson said post-game. He says, we could compete with anybody. Yeah, they can. That wasn't the expectation in 2015. We all said this team competed at the end of last season and was a 48-41 team. I think last year felt more like 2015 than this year does. And I'm not saying I expected them to come in this year and be the best team in baseball, but I did expect them to come in this year and compete. And they've done exactly that. Because you added real winners like Dansby Swanson. You added real winners like Cody Bellinger. Again, you've gotten that heroic play from some guys when they need it at times. A Mike Talkman, a Miguel Amaya serving. Remember last time the Cubs won a World Series, they carried 3 catchers. I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious, all right? There have been so many things that have gone right, but they've added that competitive nature to this team and these proven winners that has just supplemented this team and taken them as far as they are, Juice. And that's why I think now we're just seeing the best to come. And you're seeing it as a Cubs fan in totality. They are competing with all of the best teams in baseball. And they did it this whole season. They lost to shit teams and they beat good teams. Now they're putting it together. This doesn't feel like 2015. This team can absolutely compete with anybody. And where they sit in the standings, raging all the way back to be a wild card team as of today, as of this very moment at least, and you're tied for second in the division and you're not much farther back of the Brewers, they're coming. Dude, this Cubs team is so much fun, Juice. So much fun.
I think to make that comment is about 15. There won't ever be another 15. There just won't. There won't be a group that comes up like that because the Cubs are not trying to design their team like that anymore. They're trying to design it as there's a few that are going to be pillars of this organization, and then they're going to continue to add. They're going to continue to draft well, to make trades, much like we've talked about it on the show often, and we envy them, and we'll always say it, the LA Dodgers. I mean, for a lot of it, they have some of their guys that stay, but I mean, it's a changing of the guard for them a lot too. Think about the Boston teams too. It's a good example. Like Boston went to the World Series with essentially 2 different groups.
Yeah,
they really did, and that's what the Cubs are kind of trying to do now. They're trying to build a team that, there's going to be some pillars like your Dansby Swanson, like Nico Horner and Ian Happ for a lot of it, but there's also going to be guys that come back up and down and kind of come into the picture and don't, because 15 was just not like that. 15 had their group of the core, and it was, like you said, it was interesting and it was fun and it was new, right? For us, it was new. It was there wasn't ever a Cub team like that where the possibilities were endless because you felt like it was a core of guys that were young and getting their career started at the major league level with what we thought at the time was some great MLB developing, guys at the MLB level to develop them even further. Never happened. But with that said, you look at where they're at today, and you're right. They brought in proven winners. Cody Bellinger has been there. Dansby Swanson has been there. Kyle Hendricks is still there. There's names. Marcus Stroman's pitched in playoff games. There's a lot of names on that are not – they're not new to playoff baseball or to playing games that matter. And that's why it's just not. The only thing I'll say that I'll agree with what they said, it feels like 15 because you're entering a window of competition where you feel like you can be good the next couple years and take a good shot at this. But I feel like as Cub fans too, because that's the way it went the first time, that we're kind of conditioned to being like, oh, well, we know, this isn't going to be our year and it'll be the next year. We'll put together this guy and this guy will come in and they'll sign Shohei Ohtani. And my suggestion too is during you're taking it all in, don't underestimate the fact that this Cubs team can go places that you don't think they can go. They're a lot better than you think they are. And honestly, I think that they're going to play a style of baseball that if you're a team like the Braves or, the Dodgers, the Cubs would be the last team I'd want to play in a playoff because the Cubs are not going to beat themselves. They're just not. You're going to have to beat them. Mm-hmm. And the Cubs can beat you while the same thing is going on. They have the hitters, and they're going to play a style of baseball that is run prevention. And in the playoffs, that shows. If you can cut down a runner at home plate like they did today and, play smart and double off, the shortstop over Arcia on the other side, those are the types of things that you end up winning baseball games, and you win playoff games that way by playing that smart. So, yeah, this Cubs team can be damn good, and they are damn good.
Yeah, they are damn good indeed. And speaking of damn good, Juice, they beat a damn good ball club over the course of this weekend. Let's dive a little more into the series here. Cubs take 2 of 3 against the Atlanta Braves. And Juice, first off, hysterical comment by Scott here. Who hit harder, Cody Bellinger or Jose Ramirez? For those that need any kind of context, go watch any national baseball storyline. Tim Anderson and Jose Ramirez decided to box in the Sox Guardians game last night, only for Ramirez to give a one-cut punch to Anderson at the end with the right hook and knock him out cold. It was pretty incredible.
But Ron, I don't know if you've been on the Bluebird app or the X app lately. As of late,
shouts out to the Bluebird app. Forever.
Go peep Tim Anderson's Instagram or Twitter right now. It's a very interesting kind of thread of tweets that are cryptic, and I think Jose Ramirez has maybe knocked him into the fourth dimension now, and he's seeing the Matrix at this point. It's really weird, man. It's some weird stuff. It's some good off show. Or I don't know if you're reading them now. Like it's some interesting off the wall shit. Like they're watching me, and yeah, it's weird. I think he may have broke a brain. I think he broke his brain. I think he broke his brain.
Yeah, that's not ideal. Not ideal at all. But quick shout out.
Cody hits harder, by the way, Scott.
Yes, Cody does. And speaking of Scott mentioned before this series, Juice, that if the Cubs take 2 of 3 or sweep the Braves, they've put the league on notice. And you have to sit here, Juice, and I have to kind of agree. I think the Cubs have put the league on notice because this series, right? We're gonna dive a little more into each game here, but this series, Juice, yes, Friday was just not great, Bob. But they battled the last 2 days in shit weather, in, dare I say, playoff baseball like weather, to beat a very good baseball club in the Atlanta Braves and have us singing, kumbaya of pure excitement because this ball club can compete with anybody, Juice. I mean, they really have put the league on notice, buddy. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. They took 2 or 3 against the Braves. They are for real big weekend.
And I'll continue to say this. If the Braves don't win the World Series, I'm a Cub fan. I hope they do win the World Series this year. They got a chance the way they're playing. If they keep playing like this, they're going to have a shot. But if the Braves don't win the World Series, it's a complete and utter failure. That team is so good. Up and down. Like that's the one team that's come in here to where like 1-9, you're like, man, like how do you get around? I felt bad for Justin today and for the pitchers for the most part for the weekend because there's no break in that lineup. It has a 2016 feel for like how we look at it, where it was just relentless. And then you look at their pitching staff and you're like, yeah, it matches the two. And then you watch their bullpen and they've added to it with Hand and stuff like that. But each reliever that comes out of that bullpen is skilled as well. And the Cubs beat them straight up twice. And honestly, like, I mean, we're going to talk about Friday, but I think I don't want to say that this is not possible, but I think that the Braves are a bad matchup for Kyle Hendricks in a lot of ways. It's not like everybody else you can kind of fool but the Braves are going to be on that timing for the most part. He can do things to alleviate that, but yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's a good matchup for him. Fridays, it was almost expected at least a little bit after the 3 out of 4 for against the Reds. But yeah, that Braves team, if they don't win the World Series, it's probably a failure for them. And they're going to be good for a while, but yeah, the Cubs took it. They've been damn good.
They have been damn good. And speaking of that Friday game here, Juice, Max Fried too, although he's only pitched here and there because of injury this season, really good. 3-1, a 1.69 ERA. I mean, you could make the argument if he was going to pitch like this for them all year, he was going to be in the Cy Young conversation at the end of the season. He shut down their lineup. Bellinger had 2 hits. Madrigal had a hit. Amaya had a hit. That was it. Friday was very spare. And you know what? Even Kyle was okay through 3.
Sure.
It was just that second time around, they picked up on him and it was game over. They blew it open. It was doomed from the start. It almost felt like, and you still got, 3 good innings out of Wesneski. So you still saved the pen knowing you needed the pen the next day. And Quas and then Barnhart get you through the game. And at least you set up in a way, Juice, to, take us a little bit now into Saturday. You set up for that bullpen to be as fresh as possible for Javier Assad to take the start, for them to do what they did, really, just battle through. Merriweather battling through and giving you 2 innings. That double play, massive, absolutely losing my mind over that. I felt like the biggest baseball nerd on the face of the earth, Juice, because I was like, Merriweather giving them 2, like you said, right? That playoff baseball calculation. Oh my God, Merriweather gave them 2. Yeah. Alzolay pitches 1 tonight. He's available tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And it ended up paying off on Sunday and them needing Alzolay today. But like, man, that Friday game, like it worked out okay where they could reboot and just say, all right, let's go get him. And they did exactly that, especially in a shit rain. Like today was kind of rainy. Saturday was worse. It was like pure October rain.
And cold and wind blown in today. Wasn't easy to
super cold. Score. It was gorgeous outside today, Juice.
Really? Okay. I was by the lake. It's a little cold for me. But yeah, and 2, they won. I thought that both games, Saturday and Sunday, were very similar in terms of playoff caliber bounce back. Like anytime the Braves would take hold of a game, the Cubs would be like, all right, well, bottom of the inning, let's put up, and they would respond. The Braves put up 2 today, and before you could even blink when they were back in there, they were putting up 2 of their own. That's what good teams do. They get down, but they don't get out. They come back and they continue to fight back, even against good pitching. Like Morton's not bad. But on Saturday, it was so damn impressive because you were given everything against them to not win that baseball game. coming off a drubbing on Friday with Hendricks on the mound, and you thought you were going to get a decent performance out of him. And then they had to use some of the bullpen, not enough to warrant it, but you knew going into that game that you were lucky to get 4 innings out of Assad. That would have been like ideal, moment to
and they almost got 4 out of
Assad. And they almost did. But they still were able to piece themselves all the way to the end, like you said, using Merriweather for 2. That was huge. That's the bullpen. As much as we gave them shit early on in the year, man, in this winning streak has been just nails. Every time somebody comes in, other than Mr. Anthony K, because he's gone, but other than him, it's like every other name is like one after another of like, yeah, we're going to meet the bell. We're going to put in a good performance. And that makes managing so easy for David Ross when he knows that, yeah, this guy's unavailable, but I know I can get an inning out of, Quas now. And I think the underrated trade by the end of this thing, we're going to all talk about Candelario because he's a great hitter. Quas looks like he has great stuff. And that funky delivery, and it reminds me of that like low end trade that they did like during that core run in 15-16, where you add guys like a Montgomery and like a Scott Efros, before they traded Scott Efros over, a guy and they just redo, or like a Trevor Cahill, like a name that, the numbers don't look right, but he gets into the Cubs bullpen and he does what he's good at, and he's pitching in high leverage situations. And some guys pitch better than that. Some guys have that like that fire underneath them, and they need to be pitching, in a big time moment or playing in a big time moment. Look at Javier Baez. Like, I think a lot of the problem is playing in Detroit, and he's playing for something that means nothing. You know what I mean? It was constant bounce back, that competitive, I'm going to hit you harder. And then when you got to the end of the bullpen and you had a lead, the Cubs nailed it down. You got to give Alzolay credit, and Merriweather, and Leiter, and even Fulmer, who's been just unbelievable for the last couple months. It seems like every time he comes in, he's lowering his ERA, and now he's into the 3s. Yeah, like it's all clicking. Everything that I think Jed thought could be all season has been this last 50 games, which we talked about, prior to this show. They're 30, what did I say, 32 and 18?
32 and 18. Yeah.
32 and 18 since then. But yeah, they've played just winning baseball. They continue to do it, and that's a real baseball team that they beat. And yeah, Saturday was impressive to me. That's maybe the most impressive win that they've had all season.
I completely agree, Juice. Got to watch it on the old mobile device as we were roaming around. It really was just the perfect recipe. Like you said, they come out of the drubbing, you get 5 in the first, you take it right to them out the gate. And then you do enough offensively with a bullpen that's just trying to get you through the day, and the weather sucks. Awful to throw a baseball in. You and I were talking about the hit by pitches for Acuna and him staring people down. Like, what do you expect? Both days the ball was probably as slippery as a piece of soap as they're trying to throw it. It was hard for guys to get the proper command on things.
Did they change the rosin bag?
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, it was bad. There was a reason they were doing what they were doing. I'm right there with you, Juice. Like, this is the most impressive, to me, win in quite a while, just because they came out, the 2 from Merriweather. I can't get over the 2 from Merriweather. That thing just made my heart sing, because then Juice on Sunday got to be in attendance for that. I got some nice, some fresh air and enjoyed myself in the bleachers. And Justin Steele, 5 1/3 of really hard fought baseball. I mean, he looked like that ace. Just all right. I know this lineup's nasty, and they're built to hit against lefties, righties. It doesn't matter. I'm at least going to make them work for it because those were hard earned runs for the Braves today. Like they did not get those easy off Justin. I think that's the place we got to start with today, Juice. Justin Steele is fucking nails on the mound, and he has really become this team's ace.
Battle tested. I feel like he's just the type of kid that no matter what the game, no matter what the situation, like he throws himself into that moment and meets it. And that's what you want out of an ace. That's what you want out of a guy who is the big lefty. We saw it in John Lester, who, was just every day picked up the ball and battled. And today I watched Justin Steele, and for a second, you forget that you're watching Justin Steele and you think you're watching John Lester. It's like I've watched a million of these John Lester starts when he was a Cub, and I'm like, it just feels like that. Like he didn't have his best stuff.
No. By
any means. He didn't, but you look up and it's like, yeah, he went 5 and 2/3?
5 1/3.
5 1/3? Gets you to the point where you need to get to with some availability left. I mean, it's not like he couldn't get through 4 and the pitch count was high. No, in those final, what he threw 110 pitches, 111 pitches, like he battled. And you could see it on his face, like, I ain't got much left. But you know what? I'm doing this for my teammates. I'm putting them on my back. I'm going to say, you know what? Like, I'm letting it all out. I'm running the gas empty here. But I need to make sure that my team has the best shot to win. And he did, man. And that's the winning culture that's being built there. He's learning that from being around guys who are battle tested. And now he's becoming one of those veterans that, like, he's getting into that moment in his career where these guys like Wisniewski come up and, they ask, like, hey, man, like, and Caleb Killian, who's now on the roster, like, what are things I can do to help the team? And Justin, I'm sure for a lot of it, as he is an older, younger player,
yeah,
is looked at probably like the older brother in the situation. Like, hey man, like, how do I do that? And he's given that advice, but you know what? He leads by example. He goes out there and he battles and he battles and he battles. And I love watching him pitch because you can tell, like, the competitiveness, the competitive edge that he has, the amount of passion that he plays with is unmatched. And it's just, he's nails, man. Like, you need a guy like that. And I think they talked about it, a couple starts ago, like, about how Roger Clemens was always like the stopper. And they were talking about him on Marquee. Like, you always, if you were in a losing streak and then, this guy came to pitch, it's like, I'm not letting my team lose on this day. I'm doing whatever I can to put them in the best, spot to win. And Justin does that every single start out. No matter if he needs to go 7, if he needs to battle through 5, if he needs to throw more. Let's be honest, man. Like, how many other pitchers on this roster get to, upwards of upper 90 pitches, and David Ross pats him on the back and goes, go ahead, man. I need you to get me, as many outs as you can in this inning because I can't get to the end of the game without you doing this. And he does that, man. And he heads out there and he battled through it in a lineup that, like I said, every single hitter can take a yard, can do damage. And yeah, man, it was impressive to watch him. I think you're going to look at the stat line and go, yeah, that's not Cy Young stats. But if you watch the game, that's a Cy Young candidate right there. That's an absolute Cy Young candidate.
100%. And Juice, I think you still can make the Cy Young argument because, yeah, maybe his strikeout numbers aren't as big as Gallen or Strider, but he doesn't walk nearly as many people as they do. And he's given you about the same, if not more, innings than those guys. And like you said, he just battles, and he's a run preventer.
Yeah.
He had the lowest ERA in baseball within the last week. Like, he got a little beat up today, but again, Juice, this is the best lineup in baseball. And he went out there and battled for 5 1/3. He got beat up a little bit, but he still 7 strikeouts.
Sure.
The Olsen home run was probably his only real mistake that he had all day.
Yeah, by the way, never pitched to that fucking guy. Never.
Yeah. I would, you know what? It's crazy how 1 through 4 in that lineup, like, he's the one that scares me the most. Even though Acuna is the best statistically, Albies is a stud, Riley's the big bomber, but like Olsen is just that dude in that 4-hole for them. So again, for him to only really give up that big is the biggest like meaningful mistake he made, because he gave up when he was starting to get gassed a little bit. That's when he gave up a run or two. But oh man, I mean, he gave the way. And then speaking of Juice, looking a little forward here in the game, Fulmer slammed the door for that 2/3 of an inning. Absolutely got after it. You know, a couple good comments here. AJ Nance slamming the door on the top of the Braves lineup was huge. That's followed up by Filmmaker 12 here. Fulmer makes me nervous, but got to give him credit for how he's pitched lately. Just like you said, Juice, he's been really good lately, and he comes in a high leverage situation after going 1 1/3 yesterday.
Yeah.
And is nails right out the bat, saves the Cubs from, giving up the lead. And then they're able to cruise. Quas looked really good, gave up the 1 hit, but 2 punch outs. Leiter came in and looked fantastic again. And then Adbert, he's got to let guys on base because it's just what he does. As Scott says here in the comments, I always have to put some tying runs on base before closing out the game. Wouldn't have been a tying run. I guess it kind of was the tying run today, but like this bullpen is just getting it done. They have found their roles. This is what happens when you don't sell his bullpen at the deadline every year for David Ross, Juice. He finally starts to figure out what strings to pull with who thrives where. Fulmer has been that nails kind of high leverage situation guy for middle innings. And then you've got, more of the guys like Leiter and Alzolay and Merriweather for your 7, 8, 9. They're finding their roles and they're executing incredibly well, Juice. Adbert Alzolay now, 14 of 15 in save opportunities.
Like that.
He's been dynamite as a closer for this Cubs team.
I want to give credit to Tommy Hotovy too, because if you watch what Fulmer was doing earlier in the season, that slider looks nothing like it was early on in the year. I mean, that's become like I don't know if they've changed his arm slot to get more run on it, but that thing is now getting more depth. It's got to be getting more spin because it's moving way more. You could see, and now that makes that fastball so much better. Like when you have to keep that, 3/4 arm length slider in your back pocket, and a hitter has to know that could come. Like that makes 95 seem like 101. It really does, and that's why he was able to get out of that inning so easily, because you got to look for that slider. And then he can throw that slider into the zone now too. That's a major change for him. I would love to ask Hotovy in the beginning of the year if they thought they could get Fulmer to this spot, because they jumped on him fairly quickly to come in, and they gave him a good amount of money to be here, because I think that they saw something with him that they could work on. And maybe with he did, if I'm not remembering correctly, Ron, correct me, but did he start early on in spring training with an injury? I feel like he battled through something late or before that, or he came late to spring training, either way, because they had just signed him. But either way, okay, but the point of that maybe being is maybe there wasn't enough time for Hotovy and him to get together to work, to be like, hey, like you're throwing this like this, but I want you to throw this slider like this, and at this arm slot, and just like a golf swing, man. Like when you're changing your move, it's breaking old habits first, and then it's finding the comfort in the new ones as well.
Mhm.
And I wonder now if that's the case. Like he's comfortable in what the Cubs have told him to work on and now you're just reaping the benefits of it because his stuff does look different. And like you said, Leiter's just been nails. He's been so damn good this year. And that's a signing that nobody had any clue would be, I think when I made my 26-man roster to start the year, he was off of it and not a part of it and found his way into. And man, we've talked about it so much on this show. Adbert Alzolay, like that, that kid's got so much potential in the role he's in right now. I mean, he just has the stuff, and he's got that ability, like mentally, and that just enough psycho. You know what I mean? Like he finishes the game, and I feel like he's gonna just whack every one of his teammates in the face. Like he's just hyped when he finishes out like a Cub win, and he relishes it. Like I worry for every single high five he has down this freaking Cub win handshake line that they do after, because I swear, like one of them is just gonna be too hyped he's gonna hurt somebody because he is so. I never seen a pitcher get so like into it, and just to like have that personality, like the just enough. All those great closers had just enough psycho in them to just be like you see it on the South Side with like Liam Hendricks, like he's a freaking nutso. Like you saw it here with like Rod Beck, and you saw it with in the past and like Aroldis Chapman in a lot of bad ways as well. But
Carlos Marmol.
Yeah, like just enough psycho to like just be in the moment and just throwing gas, and it's just fun to like. I don't remember seeing that with him as a starter. Do you? Like those moments regularly where he's just amped to leave an inning? Like I don't remember that, and that's something too that like sometimes being in the right position opens up another door that I bet you maybe even Adbert didn't even know he had.
Yeah, 100%. Because when you're a starter, you have to like you're composed, you're calm, you got this. You got to go long, so you got to have a different mindset. It's like being a runner, Juice. There's the long distance 800 cross country runners who you're calm, you're paced, you got to go long distance, right? Versus just the guys that are doing the 100-meter sprints. Like that's kind of what it is with baseball in terms of starting pitching versus the bullpen. And then you get the psychopaths that are in the 100-yard dash at the end of the game who just need to, just go get it. And that's what he does. He's just all over the place going to get it. Tyler said, he says, also give me a shirt with a silhouette of Alzolay's fist pump on it. Like, yeah, it's iconic right now. It's becoming that clip in the in the end of season review, Juice, that's just like, how do the Cubs go on this hot winning streak? Oh, it's Alzolay at the end of the game. Fist pump, fist pump, fist pump, fist pump. And then you can turn it into like a DJ remix. That's what it's feeling like because it's just on repeat with him right now. Tyler also contributing another name, Juice, that we didn't talk too much about here. But he said, what's up, guys? Jose Quas. He likes that guy. I love that fact that his name's Quas, too. I got to hear it today as Jeremiah Paprocki said it. And just Quas. It's fantastic. Anyway, funky delivery. Looks like the ball gets in on hitters faster. Could be another key bullpen guy these final months. I agree. He was fun. He was different. He's something that the Cubs haven't had in a while. He reminds me a little bit of Steve Cishek in terms of the arm slot and everything.
Oh, that's a great callback.
Like he gives me that funk. There's just Efros had the funky delivery too. The Cubs always got one. They've always got one dude that like has a funky delivery of some kind. It's almost a must on these Cubs teams. They've had lefties like that before. Just that weird little side, like, it's the best.
I forgot all about Everyday Cishek, man.
Everyday Cishek, dude.
Literally
every day.
It's like, what's the situation? We're going to Cishek. Joe, he already pitched and you took him out in the 6th. Nah, just get him back out
there. He's going for 2. Yeah, he's going for 2, and he's going to pitch tomorrow in like the 7th inning of some 4-3 ball game because he's the only dependable middle relief arm that they had. Oh, it was awful. But I mean, Juice, you're 100% right. Like this bullpen's just getting it done on every level. The starters are getting the job done. A hard fought just battle from this team today. Before we look ahead to the upcoming series, Juice, I do want to turn us in a little bit of a rabbit hole direction just for a few minutes,
Of course.
knowing that
Love
we're at
it.
the 45-minute mark. You and I were having some just interesting conversations before the show. And there's one I want to revisit.
Sure.
I just so desperately want to know what you think because we got a comment on it a little bit earlier that I think helps us to tie it all together here. Yeah. Caleb Killian. What do you think Caleb Killian does this time with the Cubs? Obviously, he was the call up today, so this is relevant news as well. He says, Scott says, I'm looking for Caleb Killian to shove this time in the bigs. Have they identified Caleb Killian as like he's a really good AAA starter, but maybe he's really optimal in that 3-inning role?
Oof.
Or even 4-inning role? Maybe that's how the Cubs do it. Maybe maybe they try to do every 5th day where it's 2 guys, but those 2 guys save you every other arm every 5th day.
Yeah, I could see it. I think in terms of where they're at with this schedule, this is a good opportunity to bring up an arm like that and spell the bullpen. No matter what the situation is, Caleb Killian can go multiple innings. Like you said, he can go 4. He can start your game if need be. But when we were talking about it, they're going to play 3 series here with off days after each one. They're going to play 3 against the Mets, 3, and then an off day. 3 against the Blue Jays, then an off day. And then they have the 2 at home against the White Sox, off day. So, I mean, this is the perfect time in the middle of a run in August when you know you're going to have to burn the midnight oil in September to just buy more innings for Leiter, Merriweather, Assad. These names who have pitched a lot as of recently. Caleb Killian becomes that Swiss Army knife, I think, in a lot of ways. And without having Marcus Stroman on this roster for right now, and I think that what we were talking about, and I agree with you, I think Assad probably gets that next start again. Why change what worked? But piggybacking it with a Caleb Killian makes a lot of sense. And having Assad go the 3 or 4, whatever he can do, and then having Killian bridge you to maybe the 9th when you have a lead, or finishing the game if you can get Assad to go like a lucky 4 or 5, and then you can get to only using one reliever here, because I think this is an interesting time for the Cubs to use the schedule to their advantage, and also use the strength of opponents as well. I mean, the Mets have just given up after the sell here. So, and we were talking about it. We're going to talk about it in more depth, but anything less than 2 out of 3 is a huge letdown in this next series. And with the travel to Toronto and the off days, it's a great time to use the schedule to your advantage to just get more rest for these guys, because that after these couple series here and these off days that are kind of forgiving, it's going to be another sprint, another decent trek of baseball until they have an off day. I mean, they don't get another one until the 31st. So they're going to play, what is it, almost 11 straight games, 12 straight games? It's around that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bullpen's going to be taxed by the end of that. It's going to be, no matter what happens, even if you had starters go 6 each night, it's going to be difficult to piece it to the end of that. And your starters are going to be, absolutely drained at that too. So I think it's a good opportunity to, while winning, also, throw some rest in there. And I think Killian's kind of shown he can do both in some sense. He has the stuff to do both. And now's the kind of time to play with that. You played with that with Alzolay, and look where that ended up. Maybe Killian comes up and is absolutely dominant, like Scott says, and now you have another 8th inning guy, another guy who can come in and give you that 2-inning, 3-inning kind of bridge to Adbert, or bridge it further enough to where Adbert can get those 2-inning saves, or those 4 or 5 out saves. Because it's about, and now I said it earlier on in the episode, it's about this chess game that becomes, over the course of these next couple of weeks and these next couple of series and all the way to the finish and then into the playoffs. It's more or less like one domino affects the other one. So when you watch these games, you got to watch as like, yeah, you didn't get through this, so that means this is now got to happen. Somebody's got to pick up the slack in a different spot. And Caleb Killian kind of it gives you an extra bullet in the chamber, I think. And he's been damn good. So you're killing birds with 2 stones. You're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You're allowing, Caleb Killian to be rewarded for being down there and showing that he can, mow down AAA hitters. And you're also, saving some bullets for other guys.
100%. And follow-up question for you, Juice, right out the gate here, buddy. Are you guys nervous at all to see Caleb called up and put in a spot he's not necessarily used to? Tyler likes it, our commenter here. Hey, buddy, we miss you. But any sign of struggle, and I feel like he goes down right back down the next time he's used, as I believe what the implication was there. I don't think so, Juice. I think I'm right there with you. You kind of answered it a little bit there, where he's going to be another bridge guy. And I think there could be some concern naturally, right? Because he's always been a starter. But I think where they see the value in a guy like Killian is we saw it his last time up. He's really good through the first time in the order.
Yeah.
And then that's when he starts to struggle, is when guys have seen him already and maybe the fastball doesn't look as fast. And all of a sudden they get some hard contact on him. If he could come in and give you those 2 really good innings, 2 2/3, 3 3 1/3 against worse teams, maybe even like 4, and keep you in ball games and help you, again, get this bullpen to that finish line of some of these off days coming up. Because you're going to rest up now over the next week or so. Only 6 games in 8 days. You got 2 off days coming up. But then, like you said, 12 straight. They got to get him there. Sure, I think there's always natural nerves, but I think because of the way he sees it, I could see him being the starter in some games and then somebody piggybacking him, which I think is something you and I talked about a little bit too, where, he's going to play different roles. And I think they're going to let him try different things. And again, I think the Cubs at this point are just trying to say, hey, he's an elite arm talent. Let's get him up here and find out just the way he can help us best. And if it changes every day, cool, that's fine. Switch Army knives, like you said, Juice, are cool and tough, as we say here.
And Ron, just to big picture it, looking out of this year into the future, I love Caleb Killian, and I think that he's got some great potential to be something in this major league, roster. But looking at what the Cubs have a lot of depth of, I don't know if Caleb Killian finds himself in the top 8 of starting pitcher potentials that's in the minor leagues, that's in our system. I mean, I like him a lot, but the Cubs have so much depth. I mean, you could start to name a million names that you could make arguments that Caleb Killian is not better than. There's 5 solid in front of that you can definitely name in Wicks, in Brown, in, even like Gray, who's going to be another guy within a couple of years. I mentioned Michael Arias, down in South Bend. I think he's another name that can run through this. Caleb or like Horton, another name that you can put in that, and like Porter Hodge as well too is another name that I think that not a lot of people know. Brandon Birdsell, another name that you can make arguments that Caleb's maybe not more talented. He's got talent, but not in that starting pitching run anymore of we can pencil this guy in because we have 7 other names that you can look at as I think this guy is going to project better than him. So now is the time to maybe give him that, hey, Caleb, go up there, get yourself in situations and see how you feel. And now's time. Now during a time of ever is going to simulate what competitive baseball means out of a bullpen, and try to be one of those guys. So I think I think it's a great kind of throw him in the deep end and see if he swims moment. And especially against the Mets and the White Sox in the next couple, runs, you could definitely do that. And he doesn't even need to see Toronto, unless he's mopping up like a blowout game for either way. Let him pitch against, more cake lineups and, the White Sox and Mets, who are pretty much just trying to play out the last month and a half until all is over. So, yeah, I think that there's a good chance that this is maybe his future to where he's going to be in the bullpen, because maybe they saw what they did with Alzolay and they're just like, hey, man, maybe these guys just, fit in a better spot and we just haven't tried it yet. And maybe they see a lot in Caleb that they saw with Adbert, and they think that they can do the same thing.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I think he's got enough talent. He's going to help this team somehow. I am right there with you, dude. Cubs braved the elements, Juice, as we said, for a series win this weekend. Any final thoughts before we go ahead and look forward to this upcoming New York Mets series up in Queens?
Yeah, you said put the league on notice. I mean, they did. Now that means that teams that come in here are not thinking, oh, it's just the baby bears anymore. These are Cubs. These are mean. It's a runaway train, and now teams are going to be prepared for it. So play your game. That's honestly for the rest of the year. The final thoughts going into another series can be play your game, 100%. Because the Cubs have shown a style of baseball that can win, and it's their style of baseball. Run prevention, timely hitting, hit the ball over the fence, when you need to, and get decent starting pitching. That's their brand of baseball. So, yeah, prevent runs and put some runs on the board, hand it over to that bullpen, and hopefully the bullpen keeps doing what they're doing.
Well said, Juice. Final thoughts for me. First off, I said it before when you and I jumped on. I feel like Maverick with these things on right now tonight.
Yeah, you look great, though.
It's been a vibe today, honestly. Great Sunday to be at the ballpark, Juice. Part of my final thoughts. Good to be there for the win against the Braves and see it all in person and the hard fought battle that was in a series victory. Juice, I'm right there with you, buddy. Just keep playing your game. On to the next one. Every series is important as the next. Win 2 out of 3. Do something crazy. Why not? And if you keep doing that, we're gonna be talking about this team deep into October, which I think all of us absolutely want here at Cubs
Ron,
on Tap.
Ron, every time I hear do something crazy, I think of that. Was that Sam Smith's? What was that? Freshman.
Asher Roth.
Asher Roth.
Yeah.
Part last night was awfully crazy. I wish we taped it. Yeah, man. every time I hear that do something crazy, I'm like, oh man, there you go.
Do something crazy. Do something crazy. Stand. Yeah. I love that song.
Asher Roth. There you go.
That's what we need Christmas content of, Juice, this year. We got to talk to the boss man. We need karaoke at the On Tap Christmas party.
Oh.
So that way I can hear you rap Asher Roth, because there is nothing in this world I need.
I'm not the best. I'm not. You know what I am great at, and I hate to say it because I hate St. Louis. You throw me on any Nelly. Mm-hmm. Country Grammar. I'll give you every word from that song. or any like 2009, 2010 Lil Wayne. Carter 3, Carter 2, 4. Like Carter 4, like, oh man, yeah, I got it, man. I really do. I've done right above it like 6 times on karaoke, and nice. Yeah, it's one of those show-stopping moments. So yeah, maybe a little show bet into there one time. We'll work in some Juice karaoke on the mic over here.
I'm here for it. I need to see it at the Christmas party too. Fun fact: if you give me enough liquid courage, Juice, I can sing and do the dance for Bye Bye Bye.
No. Yes. No, we have to do some type of Cubs on Tap.
It is hysterically dumb and comical, but it's fantastic. there's a video somewhere. I'm not going to say who has it. Nobody at On Tap. Nobody here with us at On Tap. But there's a video out there of me doing it at a Christmas venture.
Ron, so we can do something with that and all the Cubs on Tap guys for the playoffs. I have a great idea for it.
Oh no.
Ask me offline because I'm not giving anything away to listeners yet. It would be pretty good.
Boy. Stay tuned for whatever that's going to become, because that's going to be absolutely hysterical. Juice, let's look ahead, buddy, to a trio of games with the New York Mets in New York, because of our friends over at Dingers running tomorrow on Monday night. Be sure to tune in with them live right here on the On Tap YouTube. If you aren't already, subscribe, hit the bell button, you know the drill, so you know when all of our shows go live. And then we'll be back with you guys on Tuesday following that second game of the series. So just we're going to preview, the first two games of the upcoming series on Monday as it shapes up right now, August 7th. It is a Drew Smyly versus Kodai Senga matchup. Smyly with a 4.71 ERA, 8-7 record. Senga has been pretty good since I think the Cubs saw him last, 3.25 ERA for the first year hurler. And then on Tuesday, Juice, August 8th, it is Jameson Taillon, 6-6, big old righty, has a 5.36 ERA after his really good recent run. He's going against Carlos Carrasco, who has a 6.60 ERA and a 3-6 record on the season. Juice, what's it going to take for this team to get 2 out of 3 against the New York Mets?
It's going to take them taking every single game as seriously as they took the last 7, right? It's don't lose that momentum. It's going to be real easy for them to go in to Citi Field and play a just dog shit, uninterested Mets team and play down to their, part of, not Citi Field. They play at Shea, don't they? Yeah.
No, it's Citi Field.
Is it Shitty Field?
Shitty
See,
Field.
I was right. See, I stopped a minute because I'm like thinking, did I get that right?
You know where Shitty Field is?
Yeah. So, but
it's in Flushing, New York.
Yeah, flush the toilet. But it's going to be real easy for them to play that type of baseball without that crowd behind that they had all weekend and all the week through the Reds, and like not have the same get up. But you know what it takes? It takes the leaders in the dugout to be like, yo, this game means as much as the last, 7 did. They really do. And we're still chasing. So, let's keep the pedal to the metal here and let's get good performances out of. It'd be really nice to see Drew Smyly have a nice start for like the first time in a while.
Yes.
I feel like it's been a long time since we've seen him have, and it would be nice because, like we said, the bullpen has been used so heavily but like I said earlier, Caleb Killian can be a guy tomorrow that comes out and, they can piece away there, but it'd be just really nice to have like a nice Smyly start where he goes 6, has a quality start. And how about one of those, like, those Reds type wins that they had where it's high scoring for the Cubs, easy, David Ross can rest those high leverage arms. And the goal for tomorrow should be A, to win, but B, if they can win while resting the bullpen, that'd be awesome too. Like it would set up perfectly for the 8th and the 9th for a sweep. It really would. If they could get, Drew on a good start and the way Taillon's pitching, and then having all hands on deck on the 9th would be just awesome going into the off day but yeah, it's going to take them just coming in with that attitude of play good baseball, keep playing good baseball, and keep that intensity. And however you got to bring that intensity to Shitty Field, make that happen.
Yeah, Juice, the last time Drew Smyly had a quality start for the Chicago Cubs, June 8th against the Los Angeles Angels. It's been a hot minute.
Was
Would love
forever
to
ago.
see him get off on the right foot on Monday. As mentioned, again, tune in over at Dingers on Monday. Tuesday, you'll hear from us again. Juice, I have two questions for you.
Yes.
Before we round this thing out. First one, who is your Fly the W player for this coming series?
Ooh. I'm gonna go with a name off of the beaten path a little bit, because I think that the Cubs take the next step into being great if this player can start to get it going. That's Seiya Suzuki.
Okay.
Even with Talk playing so well, I think that Seiya gets some run this weekend.
I think Seiya needs to be in against Senga, because that's just like cheat code level shit there. I mean, he's the first guy that, actually hit like a hard hit ball off him earlier this season, or the only hit off the fork ball or whatever at that point. Like, he needs to be in at least once. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, Juice. If Seiya gets going, damn, incredible. It would be
That's
good
the
to
next
see.
level. It's next
That would
level
be
Cubs.
That would be next level Cubs. But like you said, Talk has been really good and right. He's been fun to watch. Had the great throw from right field today to nail Acuna at the plate. He's been incredible. Juice, it's hard not to go with this guy, because as much as I want to go with the MVP level Cody Bellinger, for some reason I think they're Captain America to the Avengers is going to carry this team, and that is Dansby Swanson.
Yeah.
Dansby's my pick. He knows the NL East. He played in it for so long. He knows a decent amount of these pitchers in New York. He saw them just last year, a good portion of them. He's going to have a chance to have a big weekend, and I think if he does crazy shit, we could be looking at sweep talk on Wednesday, Juice. Who knows? I mean, it could be really crazy. But I like your choice with Seiya there, buddy. My second question for you, Juice, it's to entertain the listeners a little bit here.
Of course.
Tyler wants to know, so another Cubs win streak, and we see a remake of Bye Bye Bye. And Scott says, when the Cubs get 6 games up in the Central, calls for a run. Bye Bye Bye. Juice, I want to know what your thoughts and opinions on this idea are, because I personally am not too much of a fan of it right now.
Ron, I have a better idea for us for Bye Bye Bye.
Okay.
And it implies more at stake.
Okay. We might be on the same wavelength here. So we'll pocket the Cubs win streak.
And Tyler, we'll fill you in. You're clearly a part of this team here. It's not like we weren't gonna not tell you what we're gonna be doing, because this isn't just a you thing, Ron. This Bye 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 is Cubs on tap.
Isn't everything
full participation?
Oh boy. I'm really intrigued and slightly terrified, but tune in. Another reason just to watch Cubs on Tap down the stretch. If nothing else, if you like to see us do silly shit and embarrass ourselves, because we find it fun, and it's how we torture ourselves throughout a baseball season. AJ Nance with a quick final thought here says, would love to see the Cubs stay active on the bases and keep putting pressure on teams with the steals. Completely agree. Yeah. I love when this Cubs team runs. It is so much fun to see. I think guys like Dansby need a run, though. Dansby has not run at all this year. I would like to see him run at least a little bit. I don't need him to run a ton, but I want to see him run a little. But Belly's been running a ton. Nico's obviously been running a ton. He's a top 10 base stealer in baseball right now. I think he had number 27 today. I love when this team runs, Juice. So much fun when this team runs.
Yeah, Wisdom ran today.
Don't even get me started. He's no different than Miguel Amaya. I don't know why you pinch run Wisdom there. And then you try to steal with him, and he gets gunned at second.
Yeah, and then Nico gets walked, which that was – if I got a gripe –
Nico gets walked and then gets right back in the same position, because then he steals second successfully.
If I got a gripe with this team, just to end it, because this has been way too positive, and we need a little sour juice to end the show. If I got any gripe with this team, it's that move just right there, and also the fact that David Ross, when K was on the roster, specifically managed to not have to pitch K. So why was he on the roster for 3 games before they sent him down? So it was, yeah. So, yeah, that's where we're at. We're at the point now where roster construction needs to be pretty tight and tight-lipped here. Like, there can't be a guy just sitting on the bench being a part of this thing. There's just not. And, yeah, we were talking a little off air. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves about playoff roster. And the Cubs just don't – with the way that they construct their lineup, a big problem is speed. They don't have that guy on the bench that, like, if they were down by a run and that situation that happened today happens – to sub in, because like you said, yeah, there is no difference between Amaya and Patrick Wisdom in terms of speed. They're just not. And eventually they're going to have to address that. Thankfully, that's one of the easiest things you can address. Remember, what was that guy's name? Martin, the really fast guy that the Cubs signed. It's like Loris Martin or something stupid like that. They signed him in like 17, or we were talking about Terrence Gore. And then they had Joey Gathright too. Remember Joey Gathright for a little bit?
Joey Gathright. Oh,
yeah.
Nostalgia.
Yeah, see, I got all the Cubs names because I was looking at dumb shit today. But yeah, that's just a little sour juice to end the show. I'm sure Scott's a little happy with that because he loves when sour juice comes out to play. He just doesn't admit it.
Don't forget Yoshua Vargas, right?
Yeah, and then, no, he was Fart Gas. Remember? He was Fart Gas on Cubs on Tap.
That's right. He was.
He was Janis Fleiss Fart Gas, and it sounded like something you would throw in a war overseas. Like, yeah, I hit him with the Jonas Fleiss Fart Gas.
And you have to like say it with a like Bostonian accent. It's the fart gas, all right? It's the fart gas. Right. Hysterical. Juice, before we wrap up, I want to remind everybody Cubs on Tap, one of two official shows covering the Chicago Cubs here at the On Tap Sports Network. Again, check out our friends over at Dingers. They are live tomorrow night on Monday between the 8 and 8:30 hour, or half hour, I guess, technically. Be sure to be live with them over here on the YouTubes. Be sure to follow them at Dinger Cubs on the X app and Instagram. Follow us as well at Cubbies on Tap, CUBBIES. You know the drill on all social media platforms. He's Juice on Tap. I'm Luce on Tap at Teddy Freddy 270 at Joey Knows Nothing at Nick _on Tap, who was at the game today. I got to play Where's Waldo with finding Mr. Hudson at the ballpark today. That was
really?
Yeah, it was a good time. He was up in the first section on the second level down the third baseline, and we were in left field. So I was like,
I'm a big fan of this.
I was playing like Where's Waldo with the phone zoom to find him. We found him. We found him for what it's worth. We absolutely found him.
Still haven't found Joey.
Yeah. Hashtag Where's Joey's still in full effect. But be sure to follow all those guys and Bulls guy Rob as well. That is our prospect guy here at Cubs on Tap. You know the drill. Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks. We got it all. Bears season right around the corner. You'll be hearing the Juice and Luce show with our boy Quentin over on that. It'll be a good time this year over at Bears on Tap. And then you can hear me over at the Four Feathers podcast. We got Badad. He's a Blackhawk. So you'll be hearing plenty of me over there as well. Listen to Bulls guys as well. Interesting Bulls season coming up. Juice, you're a big Bulls guy. So you can attest to that. Very Jerry Reinsdorf-esque, dare I say, Bulls season coming up.
Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. And don't let Buzz tell you different because he don't know either.
That's totally fair. Be sure to follow all of those. And again, Cubs fans, we're having fun over on the north side. But if you got friends that are not having fun over on the south side, send your friends to our friends over at Sox on Tap. Boys do a great job covering the boys at 35th and Shields. They are doing their Sunday Fun Day show, I believe, right now, or they might have just finished before us. So again, send your friends to our friends.
And they can be friends.
And they can be friends. So let's be friends. OnTapSportsNet.com, at OnTapSportsNet on social media, the OnTap Sports Network. Go and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Juice, it's always a pleasure, buddy. Happy Sunday Fun Day to you. Happy Cubs taking 2 out of 3 over the Braves, as the title of the episode notes. Braving the elements for a series win. The Cubs 2 games in the rain, taking over the dominant Atlanta Braves. We'll be back with you on Tuesday after the first 2 games of the upcoming New York Mets series. Be sure to check out our friends over at Dingers on Monday night. Juice, what do you say, buddy? We get out here the only way we know how. Our Cubs on Tap.
Down goes Anderson. FTC, baby, FTC.
And let's go, Cubbies.